So welcome back to Carter Engineering and Fabrication. I'm Chad, and this week I'm going over a fun little project that I've been working on my Trans Am for the breather system. So if you saw the thumbnail, but let's go take a look and get into it. Aluminum 5.3, we've been over this before, but today what I want to talk about is the Voodoo Ranger Briggs & Stratton catch can. I'll go over the design in CAD a little bit, but this is 3D printed housing. Two tall boys being held in with a wing nut on the bottom and a retainer, and then the same stud on top gets the, I believe it's a Briggs & Stratton. Anyway, it's a small engine air cleaner. That guy goes on there. It's got a nice little filter sock, retaining cap on that guy, and then wing nut. So this is dual chambered. And I wanted basically something with 1/2-inch lines, so 8 AN. So I've got two stainless lines, one going over to each bank, so each tank is isolated. No drain fitting, so you got nothing to leak, and as long as they don't fill all the way up. But this is kind of something I've been wanting to do for a while, and I think it looks kind of neat nestled in there nice. So I'll take you in the office and we'll go through some design and stuff. It's looking good. I can't wait to drive this thing. So excited. Anyway. I thought we'd jump into this. I kind of already showed the what, right? The what was a bespoke oil catch can. So it's something I've wanted to do for a while. I think they look cool. I did one on the white Camaro last year. It turned out nice. Dual lines and all that, but I was never really happy with the offerings that are out there in terms of overall aesthetics. They're round tanks, and if you can find them with dual 8 AN or dual 1/2-inch inlets, they get pretty pricey. So the air filters themselves, I started looking and I found just like I said, small engine. This Briggs & Stratton, this was a 4-pack for $10. So I've got some spares. They come with a sock to go around them. Rough math says that the area is good, so they should breathe well. So I ordered these over a year ago. I've had this project in the works, but what kind of brought this back to my top of my list was a Fabrication series. Anyway, he had a video about a 3D printed housing, and he did the whole thing 3D printed, but I thought, oh, what if you did the bottom of the tank, which obviously turned out to be beer cans, but yeah, that was kind of the inspiration. Was I had the filters, they're low cost, the tall boys ready to go. All I did for those was scribe them with a height gauge and then cut them out with a pair of shears. They cut pretty well. Let's get into SolidWorks. So the main body, and I won't go through the whole modeling process, but see if I can show it in a wireframe. Oh, that's ugly. That's hard to see, isn't it? How do I want to show this? I will show here. I'm going to show a section view. So if we look at it from the top, so you have the two inlets, each one going to its respective tank. So in this case, this inlet feeds the right-hand tank, this inlet feeds the left-hand tank into the larger draw straw, and then I didn't put much baffling in here. I'm not sure how much is really going to be needed. I did add this like tapered feature trying to pull air from the side. So hopefully it doesn't just go straight down and back up. Hopefully it slows down. I can always add more baffling later if I find that, the filter starts puking oil or something. And I don't anticipate that happening. So anyway, a little modeling, and it took a couple iterations. I've got a few sitting here at my desk. So I printed the first one in PLA, dialed in the fit on the diameter, and corrected a couple minor issues. So once that was done, I printed the final version in PETG carbon fiber, so PETG carbon filled. And then you can see here, I'm zooming way in, but I've got two fasteners. So basically this is your Allen wrench access. It takes 2 1/4 fasteners into the firewall. So you put those in, Allen wrench through here, and then once that's installed, you add the tanks. vertical channel here with a hex cutout on top. So you drop the 1/4-20 stud all the way through, and I think you saw me assembling that on the car. So a pretty neat piece, all told. I will make the files available in case anybody would like to have them. I'll throw a step file up on the Google Drive as well as a STL or a 3MF file. Anyway, it'll be a few weeks or well, maybe months, hopefully weeks before I can try this guy out. So I did want to take a quick walk through Bambu Studio to look at the parts as they're sliced. The tubing bracket, a little convoluted here with the camera. The tubing bracket and then the lid are support free, and the lid does have a rib to help align it to the filter for rotation. No support needed for those two parts. No support needed for the can retainer. And you can notice that I modeled the kick up so it like captures the bottom of the cans. So that pretty closely matches the geometry on the underside, and actually it engages really nicely in terms of fit. So it helps everything like locate really well. It makes it really easy when you're reaching all the way down to line all the pieces up. So pretty happy with how that got turned out. The main housing or the main body, I am printing that with support on, but only on, so I'll look at my settings, only on the build plate. So we'll take a look at what that looks like when sliced. And so you see the inner channel here coming up to capture the outlet, and then just the general shape of the body itself. And I'll scroll through. So starting from the bottom, you've got the upstanding tube to the outlets, and then the main body. You can see that the actual ports, those print without support material, which is fine. They're small enough and round that everything bridges well, and the prints did come out fine. You see a little support out here at the corners for the fastener locations, and then we get up to the top. So all told, this was, 330 grams total, so about a third of a spool, and call it 11 hours of print time. So not bad at all. Current pricing on spools, you're looking at what, $10 in material, so pretty decent. And I think that's all we need to talk about for 3D printing. So that was worth a quick discussion on the fittings I'm using for the breather system. In the factory location on the passenger side, there is a pressed-in fitting here, and heat that up with a torch, pop it out, drill that out, and tap it to 9/16 fine thread. And then I've got this steel JIC fitting here that goes from SAE straight threads to 8AN. And then similarly on this side, this would be the driver's side, you have the original PCV location. Again, that's all behind the baffles. So pretty ideal. In the past, I've welded on fittings, but it's kind of a pain in the ass. So instead, this one gets the larger 3/4 fine thread O-ring to 8AN or JIC in this case. These fittings are very, very inexpensive. This one I did throw in the lathe and turn a bit of a chamfer on. This one is just out of the box. So I'll snug these up, and washed these all out after drilling and tapping, and blew them out just to make sure that I get all of the chips. They're very, very clean. So I'll tighten this up, and these are ready to go back on the motor, and I'll give a quick update from in there in just a moment. All right, so we're back. Valve cover's back on. We've got the O-ring fitting to the 8AN. It's a little tight to the fuel rail, so I can't angle it quite the way I want, but I think I'm gonna just tighten it down with a little air gap and live with it. rather than making some ugly concoction of fittings. I've got the crimp rings installed. I'm going to leave this loose for just a moment because, you know, the intake might need to come off or what have you. Not a big deal either way. I'm going to walk around to this side. This one tucks in nice, looks good. I've got it hugged back to the firewall. Now remember, the motor's rigid mounted, so I don't need to worry about like, you know, hoses rubbing on the firewall or anything. Nothing's going to move relative to each other. So I've got plenty of room to the cam sensor and the oil pressure sending unit. I do need to get the vacuum line to the booster. I turned down a little aluminum fitting to go from the half push to the like 3/8, and I'll crimp up a nice line for that. So yeah, this is looking really good. I'm quite happy with it. This week has been really fun. I'm excited to make a progress on the car. You know, every step forward is good. This was kind of like an invigorating step. It was fun to just, I don't know, build something cool with beer cans as a functional art piece. It fits the vibe of this car to me, right? And nobody's really going to see it with the hood closed, so it's kind of a fun deal. But going forward, we'll try and get the exhaust buttoned up. It shouldn't take that much to button up the fuel system, get the Holley put in the car, and then try to fire it. So I'm pushing forward. I'm gonna try, and I think I can do it in September. Honestly, I just need to, you know, light a fire under myself and let's make it happen. So I am going to add an addendum to this video. I did a walkthrough of my complete SolidWorks file. Probably not of interest to many people, but if you're curious to see the process, I think if anything, it shows that you can get to the end result that you want, even if the model doesn't always follow best practices, which is kind of my general guideline for myself is, you know, just get it done however you can and remodel it if it's so bad that you can't, you know, alter it later. So if you made it this far, thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing. Drop me a comment. Let me know. It's cool that people, you know, watch and engage, and keep coming back for more Trans Am content. Well, all the content. I'm scatterbrained, but come back. Let me know what you think. And with that, we'll jump into the end piece. So I thought it might be fun to walk through my model because I'm historically a little messy when it comes to my models. I'm more concerned with getting the result I want than I am, you know, building good files, in the sense that I'm not a production engineer. I don't have to release these or do revisions. This is just for me, and I'm just trying to, you know, get to the result I want. That's really just the long and short of it. So the model is not always using what I'll call best practices. Thought process is there. So I thought maybe we could talk through that a little bit, and I could share, and maybe somebody could gain some insight from it. So at this point in the process, I'm starting with just a basic extrude, and I have a rough idea of what I want the finished product to look like, but I'm kind of working my way through it in steps. So next step, I add a shelf to the top, and then quickly threw in a facsimile for the air filter. So leaving a gap here because I'm envisioning that there's going to be some tube routing, and I wanted these to start determining where the outlet ports flow downward. So I want the inlets to come from the right hand side as we're facing it, because we're mounted on the firewall and then facing towards the center of the vehicle. So I'm picking the outlet locations, or the inlet location. God, that's going to be hard to inlet, outlet. I'm picking the inlet locations, and I sketch those out based on, oh, there we go. I have a defining sketch that I forgot about. So they're both equidistant, so these features become mirrored. And the thinking was, I want the behavior to be the same. It probably doesn't matter, but let's see. So here are the inlets swept down and turning down into the main body. So right now they're male features, and then I shelled them out to create the tubes, and ended up realizing that I could bring them down and conserve a little bit of material, so just did a body move downward. Let's see, what are we doing? Just cleaning up some of the profile. Minor interruption. So now we're back to, this is the lofted feature. I wanted to try and have the shape smoothly transition from the oval, the racetrack that is the air filter, to this oval-ish shape, and that's perfect for a loft feature. I spent a little time trying to tweak it. I kept getting this like wrinkle that's, maybe it's not picking up well, but ultimately it's not nearly as noticeable in real life. So we will press on. Start doing some chamfers. I like 30-degree chamfers on anything that gets printed because it self-supports in the printing process. You don't need support, and they end up coming out a lot better than radii. So we start cutting out the tube locations, and this is where it gets a little silly. So I ended up intersecting the part where all of these became bodies, and I did this so I could get rid of the inside of the solid block without having to remodel the tube routing. So this looks a little silly, and it knocked the part into 18 unique components. So if I hide the main body, you see that all the tubing got sliced into little bits. That's okay. So the next op, I deleted some of the extraneous bodies and then recombined basically what I wanted. So at this point now I have one solid body with the internal tube routing in it. Again, not the best way to do it, but it was functional. If I were to go back and model this part again, I would have a much better idea how to do it, and I could simplify some of these features. But we're going to press on. I'm defining a plane and adding some tube outlets. And I added a little bit of thickness to the downstanding components. So again, chamfers on everything, cutting out the outlet locations, more chamfers, and then I'm starting to add in this. I modeled as its own part for a moment just so I could add the detail. So flipping it upside down, I'm gonna back up one step. So cylinder, some cuts, some fillets. I shell this guy. This becomes my outlet port. A few extra radii, mirror that, and then combine that to the main body. So now we see the inlet and outlet ports pretty well complete. Now we're adding the cutout for the center fastener, and this is what I think I showed earlier with the hex cutout, so that a 1/4-20 nut can drop down in. Oh, okay, here we go. I had that part hidden, so this is making more sense. This is the can retainer, the piece that goes on the bottom. So that started with the basic extrude. We've got a revolved cut, and that's what I used to define basically the very rough geometry that I pulled off the can directly. I had it modeled as a single part, ended up cutting it in half, and I can add some of the features in. And I find I do this a lot. I'll start with the whole part and then realize that I want to do a lot of stuff on just half of it, so I'll end up splitting it and then mirroring it. Could have started with half a part, but that's one of those things that I could be a little better about going forward. So get it cleaned up, mirrored, a couple fillets applied, and that guy's looking pretty decent. So we're coming back up to the main body, going to address the fasteners, and we're adding in the bungs on the backside. I'm going to back up a step or two. Yeah, so adding in the bungs and cleaning up some of the front faces. A cutout on the inside that leaves room for the socket head cap screw. And now we're working on the top cap. So I'll hide the air filter for a moment, start with the basic extrude, add some thickening to it with a draft, so that again that gets to that chamfer where this is going to end up being printed upside down from how it's sitting right now. Center cutout for the fastener, and then we add the semicircle rib, and that, like I said, interlocks with the air filter assembly. Come back, we clean up some of the sharp edges. So this gets to the part where I wanted to add a little bit of aesthetic. let me show. So I got a lot of flat space on the front here, and I'm going to go ahead and show. So I added a surface so that I can extrude cut to a surface. So we go back to the reviewer tab, take a step forward. So it basically cuts to that depth. So now I can hide the surface, and you can see that adds just a little bit of geometry there. Looks a little rough right now, so that was just coming in and grabbing what I thought were some nice places to outline. Again, just trying to add a little shape. And so we'll step through adding some of the fillets to smooth that out, really accentuate that there are two tanks, and kind of get rid of some of that empty space. And when you turn off the highlighted edges, the shapes look, I would say, a little more appealing. So go back to this guy, and I think right now I'm adding the tube support, we'll call it. Pretty simple feature there, just extrude with some chamfers and fillets. And that brings us to the end. So what am I at? That's 10 minutes of me rambling about how I designed something. Hopefully that adds some value. If you got any questions on that, you probably don't. But if you did, let me know. I'm happy to answer them. So anyway, let's wrap this guy up.